Hey there, booze buddies. Welcome to another episode of Paranormal Spirits, where we share a drink, we tell you a spooky story, and then we rip it apart because booze always shows the truth. So tonight, I have a story for you about an urban legend and a man who searched for the truth behind it. The man of the hour was Brian A. Connolly, who is a historian and archivist at the Fairfax County Public Library. And what Brian was searching for was the truth behind the Bunny Man legend. Since the early 1970s, the Bunny Man legend has been told throughout Maryland, the District of Columbia, and as far south as Culpeper, Virginia.
I hate the name Culpeper so much. How was it a place?
Culpeper. I know, it's weird. It sounds like it should be a character in the game of Clue.
Yes.
Colonel
Culpeper?
Yeah.
It also sounds like an ingredient in a pinch of Culpeper.
But the main area where the Bunny Man legend takes place is in an area surrounding a railroad overpass in Fairfax County, Virginia, which is now known as the Bunny Man Bridge.
So I love urban legends always have the most creative things around them.
They do.
Always it's the Bunny Man and the Bunny Man Bridge and the Boogeyman and the Boogeyman Hole.
According to these legends, and there were several different versions of it, they occur in secluded areas, and they always have a man in a white bunny suit armed with an axe, usually going after children or vandalizing property.
It's just like the world's most disgruntled Easter Bunny ever. He's like let loose from the mall, and he's like, "These kids!"
Now, over the years, the story has evolved, and by the 1980s, he had some gruesome murders under his belt as well, according to the legend. Now, back to our man Brian, who had graduated from college and accepted a position at the Fairfax County Public Library. Now, Brian hadn't thought much about the Bunny Man legend since he was a kid. But in the early 1990s, a young woman in her early 20s or so came into the library and asked Brian how she could research a murder that had supposedly happened near her home. She was vague on a lot of the details, but he asked her, well, what do you know? So he could help her try to find out more information. And these are the details that she could give him. 2 children were murdered by a local hermit, and their bodies were hung on a bridge. She had no names and only had a vague idea of the time frame. And the thing that really bothered her was the guy was supposedly an inmate who was dressed up in a bunny suit. So more and more people started coming in and asking questions about this Bunny Man legend. And so Brian was like, you know what, I'm going to do a little bit of research here. I'm going to figure out what the heck is going on. And he found out that the legend of the Bunny Man had made its way into several student newspapers in the local high schools, and it had now also made its way onto the internet. And around 1999, it made its way onto a website called Castle of Spirits. The thing that Brian felt that was interesting about this version of the legend was that quite a number of specific facts were given. So, according to this website, in 1904, inmates from an asylum were being transferred to Lorton Prison. On the way there to the prison, the bus swerved and crashed, and they were able to recover almost all of the inmates, except one of the escapees, Douglas J. Griffin, murdered a fellow escapee, Marcus Walster. Douglas J. Griffin eventually became the Bunny Man, according to the legend. This is what Brian found really interesting, because not only was there a specific location mentioned, there were names, there was a date, a time frame, 1904, and the asylum and the prison. The story ends on this website with the owner of the website challenging the reader to go check out the facts for themselves at the Clifton Town Library. So Brian, our little studious little Brian who worked in a library, decided he was in fact going to go and try to find the facts. And he quickly found that none of them were correct. There never had been an asylum in Fairfax County. Lorton Prison didn't open until 1910, and the story supposedly took place in 1904. And even when it did open, it was a part of the District of Columbia, not Virginia's correctional system. Neither Griffin nor Walster appear in any Fairfax County public records. And my favorite of all, there has never been a Clifton Town Library.
What if it was a really big ploy to get people to the library, to drum up business at the library? But apparently the library doesn't exist.
No. So not only was it like gaining traction on the web, but now the story was also featured on a program called Scariest Places on Earth, in a segment called Terror on Bunnyman's Bridge.
How could it be the scariest place on Earth if all the places in the legend don't exist?
Brian scoured the library to see if he could find any murders that would correlate to any of the versions of the legend that he had heard. Was able to find absolutely nothing until Brian came across an article in the Washington Post that was dated November 11th, 2000, called the Maryland Folklore Archive. Now, in this archive, a college student named Patricia Johnson had written a paper entitled The Bunnyman Legend. She interviewed 33 students to get their versions of the legend, because by this point there were several different versions. Now, among those 33 students that she interviewed, there were 14 different geographic locations mentioned between all of their different versions. 18 involved a bunnyman, hatchet, or an axe chasing people. 14 tell of attacks on cars. 9 claim he attacked a couple in a parked car. 5 accused him of vandalism on homes or building. And only 3 mentioned a murder.
It sounds like the 12 Days of the Bunnyman, the song. 12 car attacks, 5 dead kids, and a old lady pushed on the street. I don't know. I couldn't remember any of the things, so I had to make it up. But that's what it sounded like.
So Brian, he took this paper, right, and he read through it, he combed through it, and he was like, okay, well, maybe I can try to find some of these facts to see if any of these have any basis of truth. And he went back, did some more research, and he found an article in the Washington Post during October of 1970. The article is as follows. Man in bunny suit sought in Fairfax.
It's like a personal man bunny suit.
Wanted in Fairfax.
Must have big axe.
Fairfax County Police said yesterday they are looking for a man who likes to wear white bunny rabbit costume and throw hatchets through car windows. Air Force Academy cadet Robert Bennett told the police that shortly after midnight last Sunday, he and his fiancée were sitting in a car in the 5400 block of Guinea Road when a man dressed in a white suit with long bunny ears ran from the nearby bushes and shouted, "You're on private property and I have your tag number." The rabbit threw a wooden-handled hatchet through the right front car window, the first-year cadet told police. As soon as he threw the hatchet, the rabbit skipped off into the night, police said. Bennett and his fiancée were not injured. Police say they have the hatchet, but no other clues in the case.
So, were they really on private property? Number 1. Was it somebody's property that they were on? Number 2, maybe that guy was just having himself a good time. Maybe he does like to dress in a bunny costume. There's an ass for every seat, my friends. The 2 is...
He threw the hatchet through the open window in the car, though.
I also envision it being not that aggressive of a throw. Just like, because he's like a man in a bunny costume. Like, do we really think he's got a good arm? So do we really think that he's like... right? And he's like, "You're on private property."
Can you imagine, though, if you're just sitting there, all of a sudden this, like, axe lands in your lap? Like, what the hell?
I know he said he was going to split me in half, but I didn't think he meant it that way.
So 2 weeks later, another article appears in the Washington Post. The rabbit reappears. A man wearing a furry rabbit suit with 2 long ears appears again on Guinea Road in Fairfax County Thursday night. Police reported this time wielding an axe and chopping away at a roof support on a new house. Thursday night's rabbit, wearing a suit described as gray, black, and white, was spotted a block away at 5307 Guinea Road. Paul Phillips, a private security guard for a construction company, said he saw the rabbit standing on the front porch of a new but unoccupied house. I started talking to him, Phillips said, and that's when he started chopping. "All you people trespass around here," Phillips said the rabbit told him as he whacked 8 gashes in the pole. "If you don't get out of here, I'm gonna bust you on the head." Phillips said he walked back to his car to get his handgun, but the rabbit, carrying the long-handled axe, ran off into the woods. The security guard said the man was about 5'8", 160 pounds, and appeared to be in his early 20s.
So he's just some guy who's like really adamant about trespassing. He's like not into trespassing.
Yeah.
Even on other people's property.
Right.
This isn't yours. You can't be here. I'm mad about it. I'm mad.
While he's whacking away And the support, so Brian was like, all right, I gotta see if I can find these police reports, right? He wasn't able to find anything from the one on October 18th with Robert Bennett and his fiancée in the car, but he was able to find one from October 29th with the vandalism incident. He was able to get a redacted copy of the report. So basically, the report says, at 10:30 p.m. on October 29th, 1970, 6 officers responded to 5307 Guinea Road for a subject dressed as a rabbit with an axe. The officers found no rabbit, and the case was turned over to investigator W.L. Johnson of the Criminal Investigation Bureau. I like that it says the officers found no rabbit.
They also couldn't locate a man dressed as a rabbit.
So W.L. Johnson, he began investigating it, right? So he went over to the construction offices. He also found no rabbit, but he did receive a call shortly after. So the guy who called W.L. Johnson said he had just received a call from someone who identified himself as the Axeman. So the Axeman allegedly said to this person that he called, "You have been messing up my property, dumping tree stumps, limbs, and other things on my property." And then he also said, "You can make things right by meeting me tonight and talking about the situation." So the person who had called said that the Axeman sounded like he was someone like a young man in his early 20s, so very similar to the description that the security guard had given. So the police set up a stakeout, but the Axeman never showed up. And so after some more investigation that really just turned up nothing, W.L. Johnson wrote, "After a very extensive investigation into this and all other cases of this same nature, it is still unsubstantiated. There has been no significant information uncovered that would lead to the identity of the person or persons that were posing as a white rabbit. This case will be marked as inactive." Now back to Brian, right? We can't forget about Brian. He's searching for the truth in all this. So he has this report, right? He has the police report, he has the investigator's report, and he's able to get some clues from this. So on October 18th, the Bunny Man accused Robert Bennett of trespassing. On October 29th, the Bunny Man told the security guard, Paul Phillips, "You all trespass around here." And then on November 4th, the Axeman, he called, I think, someone from the construction company and accused them of dumping debris on his property. The conclusion that Brian came to was, if we assume that all of these incidents were of the same person, he thinks it might have been a young man in his early 20s who was upset about this development that had been going on in Fairfax County. Because at that point in time, there had been more jobs available, and so all these people were moving to the area. And so what had once been farmland before, they were now developing into like subdivisions of roads and all kinds of things. Brian's conclusion is that maybe the Bunny Man is a young man who was just pissed off about all the development and decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to dress up like a white rabbit with an axe. That'll do it.
It's that whole thing where people try to scare people out, right? So like maybe he was trying to scare people out and he thought that that was the way. Wrong, but good try, like A for effort. I guess it's, one way to not have neighbors. They're building a house next door to mine. Do you think I should just start like chopping at it with an axe? I'll put it's really fun. We have one of those like blow up dinosaur costumes on. The Dinosaur Man of Central Florida. And I have a baseball bat instead of an axe because I don't want I want to be original.
Right. I like it. But you know what? Because it's in Central Florida, no one will think anything of it.
I'll get there and there will already be somebody there doing the same thing. And you're like, damn it.
What goes through one's mind? He says, you know what I need to do? Bunny. Bunny is the way to go. That's what will really scare people off. I mean, the Easter Bunny is terrifying. I don't know that he actually had a bunny head. It just said he had bunny ears. So he literally just had like the body part and like bunny ears on his head. Now, whether he had the little bow tie, I don't know.
I hope so. And a vest.
Yeah.
Easter colors.
Put the carrot in one hand, the axe in the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just like an axe handle like carved into a carrot because he's committed to his character.
So I commend Brian for doing as much research as he did. And there was a Bunny Man that supposedly was around there.
I would be creeped out though if I was like near the woods and I saw some bro dude in a bunny costume.
Yeah.
With just ears like trespassers. I still think he's a nerd. I don't know why he's a nerd to me. It's like a stickler for trespassing. Like pick something cooler, bro. You're trespassing. That's the crappy story of Brian and his quest to find the story of the Bunny Man and the Axe Murders, and this is the longest story title of all time. It's not a song, it's a story. If you like what you saw, take your really long bunny ears and use them to hit the like, subscribe button and ring that bell. If you don't like what you saw, get off my lawn, you're trespassing, and I'll throw an axe at you. Thanks for watching us, thanks for joining, and see you next time for more drunken adventures with two old, non-trespassing hoes. Get out of here. Goodbye.
About an urban legend and the man who... Oh. Where's the cum towel? I need the cum towel.